Out here in the middle of the prairie, the hibiscus is in bloom. Gorgeous flowers blowing in the wind. Here's last year's seed stock, and so maybe there'll be more in years to come. And also we have down here some of the white. There's pink, but mostly white cebacia right here. So this is a wet association here. It's got cattail sedges down here, something that we would easily overlook. But again, part of the wet prairie matrix down here. This also occurs in pink, light pink and deep pink forms, and they are out along the waterway here that we had looked at earlier. And hopefully we'll get some photos of those. We also have looked at the cane maker's rush, and it's interesting how many rushes there are, and this happens to be Torrey's rush, some Scottish person, I think. Famous botanist named Torrey. I think it was named after him. This is Torrey's rush. Many different rushes here. This has to be Torrey's rush. But as we look around, here's a nice little clump of eastern gamma grass. Although it's not 6 and 8 feet tall, it's just 3-4 feet tall. Again, part of the adaptation to the local dry conditions. But if you look at it, it's setting excellent seed. It is flowering. So those roots probably reach down 6 feet, maybe even more, down there where the crawdads now have their burrows. And when those roots die, which they do every year or two, they form little capillary tubes that help the moisture to infiltrate. The burrows of the crayfish help the water to infiltrate after massive rainfalls. So while water is running off a farm field, this in here is like a giant sponge, and it takes massive amount of rain this time of the year before there's any runoff. So prairies really add to the resiliency of the land in that they hold back water. And of course, those roots, when they die, which the grasses, not just eastern gamma grass, when those roots die every year or every other year, they sequester carbon in huge amounts. In fact, it is said they sequester a virgin prairie, diverse virgin prairie, will sequester as much carbon as an acre of Amazon rainforest. Is that amazing or not? And that's, again, a tremendous reason, in my opinion, my humble opinion, why we should recreate prairies. We should preserve what little we have. We really ought to just go into massive prairie restoration, because, again, in my humble opinion, you can't just only shut down fossil energy production. You can't replace it all with electricity, because the electricity has to be generated by fossil fuels. And how many windmills and how many solar cells does it take? Not trying to get into politics, I'm just looking at it from an ecological standpoint. We need massive ramping up of converting marginal lands and some rich lands to prairie, and make it possible for people to farm their prairies. Society has to pay for it. The people in the city have to pay for it like anybody else. The farmers alone can't do that. But carbon sequestration ought to be a big thing today, and unfortunately it isn't yet, and I'm preaching that gospel. That's gorgeous.